And respected Chairperson, Professor Reddy, Member NDMA, Professor Menon, Member NDMA, Resident Representative UNDP, all the other respected delegates. Let me thank the organizers for inviting me and Professor Menon for suggesting that we have a representative from Kerala. I will be making a brief presentation on the situation of disaster management policy and on the field, what has happened till now in Kerala. It's a very brief presentation. Kindly bear with me. Based on the Disaster Management Act, which was passed in 2005, in Kerala we have notified the rules, which have been notified in 2007. The rules are now in operation. The aim of the Act was prevention and mitigation of disasters for undertaking holistic, coordinated and prompt response to any disaster situation, etc., etc. The rules flow from the Act, and therefore the state has decided to adopt the Act, and based on the Act, the rules have been formulated. Based on the rules, the State Disaster Management Authority has been set up. The State Disaster Management Authority is chaired by the chairperson is the Chief Minister. The Minister of Revenue is the Vice Chairperson, and the other members are as given in the slide. As you will notice, it's a very small, compact body. There are, apart from the official members, whose number is 3, there are certain other members who are experts, which includes Dr. A. Gopalakrishnan, who is an expert on chemical and nuclear disasters. Our Principal Secretary, Dr. Yashodharan, who is again a scientist. Dr. Baba, who is heading the Center for Earth Sciences. And Dr. K.G. Tara, who is the head of the Disaster Management Faculty in our institute. The State Disaster Management Authority has had 2 meetings, actually. The first meeting was held on 5th July 2007, when we had the pleasure of having the Vice Chairman of the NDMA present for the first meeting. He addressed the members present. Some of the decisions taken, as you see, the main decision taken was that the state will come up with a policy on disaster management. And that is exactly what we are working on now. Apart from the SDMA, the State Executive Committee has been set up. It has held 2 meetings. The State Disaster Management Policy has been, the draft has been approved by the State Executive Committee, which is now to be placed before the SDMA for its approval. At the district level, the district disaster management authorities have been set up. As you will notice, the district collector and the president of the district panchayat are co-chairing the district disaster management authorities. The ADM, who's basically the number 2 of the collector, is a member. And there are 2 to 3 other district level officers who are members of the committee, mainly the SP. Most places it's the SP, the fire officer, and the agriculture or the irrigation department district head. Now, let me just move away. After having given you what has happened in the state till now, let me move away and inform you the different programs that are being implemented in the state, which are linked to disaster management, disaster mitigation, etc., etc. We have the DRM program, as was mentioned by the UNDP chief, which is being implemented in Kerala technically for 1 year, but we actually took off only about 6 months ago. As I was mentioning during the coffee break, we started off very slowly, but we seem to have taken off well. And especially in 2 areas, we seem to have taken off very well. One is engaging the youth organizations. And by youth organizations, I mean the NYK, the Nehru Yuvak Kendras, the NSS, the NCC, the NGOs involved in this area, the medical associations. They have been engaged in a big way, capacity building, bringing them together in through different fora and get their advice. That's one area. And the second area is, although I'm part of the government, I use the word pressurizing different agencies within government to amend our building bylaws. I would like to allude to what Maxine mentioned just now. It's always safer to build our buildings safer. It's always better to build our buildings safer. But somehow that desire has to come from the beneficiary, from the stakeholder himself or herself, which has not started happening as yet. So we have multi-storied buildings being built, even in literate Kerala, which are probably not earthquake resistant. And we know they are not. I say probably, but they are not. Now, what we are trying to do is engage the people and make them demand that any building or flat that I am buying should be disaster resistant. And we thought that that would be the best way to make people realize that there is nothing safer than living in a safe building. And unless I demand it, unless they demand it, it will not come from the builders. It has not come from the builders. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, we have been doing massive training of masons in local technology, low-cost technology, not low-cost, but effective technology, which makes a building disaster resistant without making it prohibitively expensive. And in both these areas, we have been using the DRM program very effectively. Apart from the DRM program, we also have the Tsunami 2 programs being implemented for the tsunami-affected persons in the 9 coastal districts of Kerala. There is a Tsunami Emergency Assistance Program, which is assisted by the ADB. And there is a huge Tsunami Rehabilitation Program funded totally by the Government of India. It's a 1,500 crore program, which involves reconstructing the damaged infrastructure in the coastal areas where the tsunami hit, plus rehabilitating the people who are living in disaster-prone areas. Now, the second is very important. I'll come back to it a little later. The reason being that we often, after floods, and floods is a regular annual feature in Kerala, after floods, we reconstruct houses in areas which are disaster-prone. So we reconstruct houses spending 1 lakh, 1.5 lakhs in areas which are as close as 50 meters of the coastline. And what happens is next year floods again, the houses get washed away or affected. So what we are trying to do under TRP is we have identified 11,000 families who are living in areas which are within 500 meters of the coastline, and we are taking them to areas which are safe. We are purchasing land. We are taking away the property where they are living now, handing it over to the local bodies for growing trees and tree plantation and other uses, but no construction. And we are giving these people who are taken away from there, we are rehabilitating them in safer areas. We also have other project-based programs for which we receive funding from NDMA, from NIDM, the Institute of Disaster Management. We get annual grant from MHA, which is to run the disaster management department in the state ATI. And we also have various projects which are being implemented by a number of NGOs. But the nature of all these programs is the same. The underlying current which flows through all these programs is to reduce the disaster risks by improving the capabilities of the people, by ensuring preparedness, mitigation, and response planning, since it is effective to invest in mitigation than relief and rehabilitation. That has been the byline that we have been following. However, when a disaster strikes, relief is unavoidable. Relief has to be provided. It does not mean that relief is not provided. It is to be provided. But we have seen over time, over the last few years, that the nature of relief necessary gets reduced. More and more we spend on prior planning. So the bottom line is maintaining a good balance between the two. What is the state's vision as far as disaster management and disaster management policy implementation in the state is concerned? In the short term, we have to ensure that the relief reaches the target group and is utilized judiciously. Now, here I mean the kind of policy I mentioned earlier, that houses and dwelling units reconstructed should be constructed in safer areas. That has been a policy which the government is following. So we we encourage the person who is living very close to or in an area which is disaster prone to move away from there. If he is living in a house which is going to be affected due to a cyclone or tsunami if it comes in future, we encourage him to make his house in a safe place and make it disaster resistant. We also, that's, as I said, disaster resistant homes, and also make sure that the property is non-alienable, because that's again is a result of poverty. Once you construct a house, make sure that the house is utilized and put to use by the family and not sold away, so that the person doesn't again come and squat in an area where he would again be prone to disasters. We are in the process of preparing the crisis management plans and the SOPs for each kind of major disasters which Kerala is prone to. It's a multi-disaster prone state. And we are in the process of making them operational. We are also involving the local bodies, NGOs, and the panchayats in a big way. And what we have started to do, again, with the assistance to some extent from the DRM program, the rest from the state government, to set up these task forces involving the panchayat representatives and the district administration in one task force, so that when a disaster strikes, it's not just a disaster, it's not that the district collector alone is responsible, but these task forces act as the eyes and ears of the district collector. And here I think I would like to allude to what today morning's inaugural speech of the Minister Panchayati Raj said, that like in any other area which impinges on the lives of the people, even in disaster management, unless we involve the local bodies, we will not be able to make them actually operational and useful for the people. In the long term, we aim to make all public buildings and private dwelling units safe, locationally as well as constructionally. We want to devise and follow a practical disaster management plan at district and state level. Emphasis is on practical, because often what we have had is that we have had plans, but those plans were never even opened by the district collectors when the disaster actually happened. We do not want that to happen. We want to have focused funding. We do not want to have duplication, so that it doesn't happen that under two programs we again and again spend money on the same issue. And we want to engage all stakeholders, including NGOs and the corporate sector. Some of the innovative projects that we have done in Kerala, which might interest some of you, is we did a small project, but a very effective one, was the Tsunami Museum, which was done with private sector participation in Alapad, which was where most people lost lives during the tsunami. Incidentally, during the tsunami, we lost about 238 persons in Kerala, which is not known to many, but we did have a large number of deaths. So in Alapad, we set up a Tsunami Museum, which is a combination of a memorial plus a science center. It gives people who come there, especially children, an idea what a tsunami is. It says that it clearly mentions the do's and don'ts, what happens during a tsunami, the scientific explanation, and what you should do and not do when a tsunami happens. And we have found that there is a huge demand for children from schools to be taken there and made to understand, because it's shown in a very fun way that what you should do if a tsunami happens. You should not run towards the sea. You should make sure that you are in a safe place, away from movable things, etc., etc. We have also started making short and spot films on disaster preventive measures. We have made pamphlets, booklets, Kerala being highly literate. These are very popular. Textbooks in schools, we have started the program, but it is still not accepted as an input in school curriculum, which we are working out with the Education Department. With the help of Nehru Yuvak Kendra, we have been preparing street plays and folk songs very effectively. They have come up with, during a training program, during a 3-day workshop, they actually came up with these street plays during that 3-day program, and we were highly impressed by it. So what we decided to do is use some of this material as part of our IEC. We have also started training for staff and for these local task force groups I mentioned at the panchayat level in some basic things like first aid, in swimming, in how to tackle a fire, etc., etc. And we have done something very basic, which is when a disaster strikes, when a flood comes or a landslide takes place, it's the village officer who is the first to respond. The collector is at a much higher level. What we have done is at the village level, we have provided some basic equipments to our village staff. And equipments like, some simple equipments like ropes, torch lights, etc., which were actually absent. And some of it is being done with the UNDP assistance. So we are thankful to the UNDP for the DRM program. Now, two things I have not mentioned in my presentation before I conclude. One is the early warning system. We have decided to set up the early warning system. It's a combination, it's a hybrid of the INCOIS developed technology and the VHS system, which has been implemented in Tamil Nadu. Now, just one point there, which I think I would like to draw the attention of the members of NDMA, since they are present there. While we were discussing and analyzing the options available, we found that there are so much of options available that at times the states get prone to be misled. And I think a time has come where we lay down some guidelines and also some kind of quality grading as to what should be done by the states, because we are not experts in this area. And it's very often that, people come and tell us that it's been done in Tamil Nadu. But when you go there and see, you find that it's not really functioning too well. So that's exactly what our experience was, that in some cases we were told that we should go in for what the Tamil Nadu government has done. But we found that it was not exactly what we wanted, and it was old technology. So then we went into INCOIS, and we decided to have this hybrid. So it will be helpful if the NDMA can probably lay down the guidelines and also disseminate to the state governments what the other states have done, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. We have also engaged the amateur radio in a big way, the ham radio. In Kerala, that's a very popular mode of communication, and they have voluntarily come forward and said that they are willing to provide assistance in case of a disaster. And what we have done is we have allowed the collectors to provide them, in case of a disaster, the permission to set up their satellite or radio, whatever is to be set up on top of the collectorate building. That's all they require. And they set up a place with a table and the radio system. And it was done in the case of one disaster very effectively. And we are using them in as much as we can. One area that we have been laying emphasis on is coastal erosion. I'm mentioning this because coastal erosion is not taken as a disaster as far as Government of India is concerned. But Kerala has been at the brunt of it, at the receiving end of it. We have found that over a period of time, there are certain places where there has been so much of coastal erosion that parts of roads have been washed away. Main roads, highways have been washed away. And therefore, we would like to draw the attention of the Government of India. Secretary Earth Sciences is not present. He was present in the afternoon. I wish Government of India takes into account this problem that Kerala is facing, where the western coast has been facing severe erosion in certain areas. And probably it's time that we took a more national view of what is to be done to tackle this problem. This was basically the presentation that I had to make. These are the future plans as far as Disaster Management Authority is concerned. This goes into the basically what the UNDP program has been, outcome of the UNDP program. The direct and indirect outputs of the program. That's it. Thank you.